Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much if you're new. My name is Miana Melendez and I share all things spirituality, living in Mexico, wellness, and my hair. So today I wanted to share with you 5 things or a little bit more of what I learned since living in Mexico about Mexican culture. It's so important to really understand when what you're reading on the news or on Instagram or on a travel blog is way different than when you actually live in the country that you're looking at. And so this is all geared to towards my experience living here in Mexico. So the first thing that of course I'm sure everybody's dying to know is that Mexican food is not Tex-Mex, okay? It is not what you find in Taco Bell, and it is definitely not what you find in at least in Upper Texas. I know that Corpus Christi, where Selena is from, might have more of a true, authentic flavor. But so much of Tex-Mex and what you might find at Chipotle is not real, authentic Mexican food. Let's just break down tacos, for example. If your taco has cheese or tomatoes or lettuce, you are not eating authentic Mexican food, okay? Every taco stand that I've ever been to has 3 main ingredients. You have whatever carne that you want, or whether that's beef, steak, whatever, adobada or chorizo. You also have raw onions. You of course have lime, and you have salsas. That's it. You don't have any of cheese or tomato or extra lettuce. Sometimes they might have cucumbers or radishes as a nice garnish. Really, it's for when you add too much hot sauce or salsa and you need to have something immediately because you just have too much. So they might have those little veggies. They might have multiple kind of salsas. Sometimes they have a green or a red sauce. Sometimes even have an avocado sauce that's completely mild. It's really just whipped up avocados. You might also have tostadas, but you'll never find anything other than those 3 things: limones, limes, and onion. Something else I want to point out is that avocado is something that I know I love, and I try to get as much of it as I can, and just about everything I put on, Mexican or not. But avocado is not something that I usually see out everywhere, whereas in Chipotle it's something that people love to add on. Avocados, same in the United States where most of my information is geared towards, is actually quite expensive. So an avocado here versus an avocado in the United States is going to be more expensive because they had to import it. But an avocado here for most restaurant owners is really expensive. So unless avocado is really listed as a part of something, or you're going to get something that's more cold, you might have a avocado slice on top of that, but it's definitely not going to be at your local taco stand, and it might not. I don't know if it's even customary to ask for one because they might not have it because it's literally just too expensive. And once you open one avocado, I mean, they go bad. So you can't just have like one little slice for one person. So that's something that I only learned once living here. Something else is that the Spanish that we've learned in our American school system, sorry, it's not the Spanish that they speak here on the streets. Of course, there's so much slang and there's so much trend in pop culture, Mexican pop culture, that you might not even understand what they're saying because it's so current to 2020 or whatever time frame that you're watching something or listening to something. So that's something to really keep in mind, because the Spanish that you're learning in official school system is what has been written in doctrine and in books. But the way that people speak on the streets is very different, and the same can be said for English, right? We know that the way that you might read something is not the same way that you might actually say it out loud. The tone, the diction, all of that definitely makes a different point. And of course, just like regions in the United States, it's so important to recognize where are you speaking, because if you're from the south of the US or the south of Mexico versus the north of the US versus the north of Mexico, they're very different. So that's always something to keep in mind, is that what we're learning in an American school system is not, it's kind of like a generalization of the Spanish, and it's supposed to count for this whole entire country, and it doesn't. So keep that in mind, have that as a grain of salt. Luckily, there's so many Spanish dictionaries and books like that. There's Google Translate. If you have an iPhone, now there's even Apple Translate. So there's so many ways that you can still get around it. But of course, when you can, practice your Spanish, whether that's on this side of the border or that side of the border. It means so much when you get to a country and you try to speak the Spanish or the language that they are in. It means so much more than just immediately jumping to English. There's been multiple times where I've been in a store and I'm trying to say something, and I'll literally hop on Google, translate what I'm trying to say, and show them my screen, just so I can really get to the point of it. Because it's one thing to speak broken Spanish and then not understand me. It's another thing to try to speak then immediately in English, and then they literally don't know what I'm saying at all. So just keep that in mind. It goes a long way when you try to practice the language, and also to listen to music, watch movies that are in Spanish, read Spanish books, or a magazine, even on Instagram, follow Latin or Mexican accounts that you like, travel blogs and things like that. Listen to more Spanish, because it's not what they teach you in the United States school system. Something else is the water. So I think it's known that you cannot drink the water that's from the tap here, but of course it's the same water that you brush your teeth with, you bathe with, shower, you might do your laundry with, but it's not the water that you drink. And so it's super important to know that there's two ways that you can get water delivered to your house in Mexico. One is that it's through a delivery. Most of the big like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, they own their own, like Dasani is a Pepsi brand, so they own water as well. So there's trucks that are always going by, normally in your neighborhood, wherever you might be, that is going to support you in getting water to your home. They'll deliver it right into your door at a higher cost. Another cheaper option that's also more laborsome is actually going to a place. Most communities will have one or two places where you can get water for really cheap, but it's in a huge, what they would call a garrafon. So it's in a huge, big liter jug of water. It's not something that even I personally can carry as a woman. I have to admit, I let my boyfriend carry it because it's that heavy. If I had to do it by myself, I would literally get one of those old grandma carts, because there's no way that I could carry that from where the location is to where I am and get it here in one piece. I would have to carry it in a machine, or of course not a machine, but in one of those cart things, or of course people drive there and get 3 or 4 at a time. So there's multiple ways to get water, but those are the two ways. Now maybe you live in a fancy place and they have machine thing on the tap water. Maybe you have that nice luxury lifestyle. Something else that I wanted to point out is that coastal living, that's something specific to where I am right now. I've spent all of my time in Jalisco, but something that's really important to know is that there's no heat in Mexico in the houses. So if you live in the United States, where I was from, I was in Chicago, and so heat was necessary. It was a must. You cannot go without heat in the Midwest. It's just not possible. If there's snow on the ground, you have the heat on. But here in Mexico, where it's so much warmer all the time, there's no heat. There's no heat in the houses. And I can say the same when I live closer to Guadalajara, which is about 4 hours away from where I am now. I was more inland, but now I'm more coastal. Either way, there's no heat in the houses. So when it gets winter time, it's not really cold at all, but when it gets winter time, that's when it's fall season here, like November, December, January, February. That's our winter season, and that's when you can maybe try to put on a cute little scarf. You add socks, you have a cute little blanket on your bed, and that's all you need to do. And it's super cool, and you feel nice and fresca, as they say, fresh. Something else that is super important to know is that all parts of Mexico are really different. Again, just like the United States, Mexico is a huge country, and there's two different sides, right? You have one coast, which is over here on Baja California side, and then you have the Gulf of Mexico side, which is the Yucatan, Cozumel, what else is over there? Merinda, Tulum. You have the north, there's Monterrey and Nuevo Leon. You also have Mexico City, which is in the heart of the country. You also have the very south of the country, which borders other Latin American countries, Central America. And so it's super important to know where you are, because the culture changes, the food changes, the language changes. And so these are the 5 things that I learned while living in Mexico. Mexican food is not Tex-Mex. The Spanish that you were taught in class is probably going to help you, but you should definitely look at more pop culture and really start practicing your Spanish and hearing the way people actually speak, not just what's written in an educational book. If you live on the coast, be aware that there's no, or I think everywhere, but I haven't lived everywhere in Mexico, but my experience is that there's no heat, so have at least a very light scarf if you get cold easily. And also water is something that you want to think about, of how am I going to get water. Maybe even your landlord might have, maybe they'll do it for you and then water is already there, and you just have to pay them every time you need water. And all of Mexico is different, so it's not the same in New York as in Georgia as in LA, right? So it's not the same here either. So I hope this video was insightful for you, gave you some new information, new ways and perspectives to think about Mexico, of Mexican culture, because so much is out there and popularized and maybe even stereotypical, but there's so much richness and authenticity here that you definitely can't just get it in one bite or in one movie. So I hope this was insightful. My name is Miana Melendez, and thank you so much for watching.